Hope you all are ready. We have Alex Pflughoeft to talk about Enterprise Event System. Alex, come to the stage.
All right, can everyone hear me all right? Okay. Well, I do have to be careful because my boss is out there somewhere, so if you could all give a standing ovation at the end, that would be greatly appreciated. All right. So before I get started, I'd like to get a feel of who the audience is. So who is familiar with enterprise events currently, and who is currently integrated with it? All right, and who has no idea what it is? So we got a few. Okay, great. So what I'm going to be talking about is kind of like a 101, Enterprise Event System 101. What is it? And give an overview of how it works and also how you can integrate it into it. So this is me, Alexander Pflughoeft. So I'm a manager of software engineering. I'm in charge of the EES product. And then also too, I do a few other things. I don't know if anyone was at Jack Henry Connect, but I also gave a presentation on enterprise file movement, which was one of the products that we announced over at Jack Henry Connect. So my contact information is here. I'm willing and able to answer questions if you guys have questions about the system. And just a little bit about myself. So I've been at Jack Henry for about 5 years now, and I really enjoy it. We're doing a lot of cool modernization things. I've been on a lot of different projects and a lot of different teams. And personally, I've got 3 kids, so I've got 3 boys at home. I've got a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and I'm right in the thick of it right now as a parent. So exciting times for sure. So just a little bit of overview as to what we're going to be covering today. I'm going to give an overview of EES. So like, what is EES? How does it work? What's the model of it? The different delivery methods that we have in terms of how do we actually get your messages to you. The event structure itself. So, the events have a certain way that they're formatted. So we'll kind of briefly go over that and where you can find more information. Also too, we'll talk about the event filters and filtering system that we have. Posting and consuming events. And then we have a demo video. So I went and did a demo of actually posting to the EES event locally. I have a local instance that I was running. And then also how you can go ahead and consume that. So I talk about consuming here, and then I'll actually show the consumption of a message. And then that'll give you some insight as to what you can do. And then I'll talk briefly about just some additional resources as to where you can find more information and where do you go next. So what is EES? So Enterprise Event System is basically an enterprise event information delivery system based on a pub-sub model. So it has a multi-tenant architecture, it's performant and secure. And what I mean about multi-tenant is it's basically a middleware, a message broker that follows like a pub-sub architecture. But the publishers to EES and the subscribers, they don't have to register with another, or they don't have to know about each other at all. They just have to go ahead and communicate with EES itself, and that's all they have to be worried about, right? And it's performant and secure. So what I mean is that it's capable of handling hundreds of thousands of events, and we'll go over some performance metrics. And then also through prompt evaluation, we go ahead and send these messages quickly and securely to you within seconds. So here's just an idea as to some of the performance metrics. So you can see here, on average, we handle about 130,000 messages per minute, and that's 8 million an hour. So that can actually range up to 160,000 a minute at peak times and 10 million an hour. So this is really going to fluctuate based off of the demand and the load. So sometimes, during like end of day, or sometimes during the day for other things, you're going to see a higher load with EES. But then things like nights in the middle of the night or on weekends, you're going to see just more of a lower load. So EES itself does have the ability that we can go ahead and add more to it to grow. So we're constantly adding to EES. We're constantly bringing on new people to EES, new customers, new products, and posting more messages. And what that means is that we can grow with it. So we can go ahead and add more to it and handle more messages. So there's no really limitations here. We can go ahead and grow as we see fit and as we need to handle more messages. Okay, so now just the model of EES, right? So we kind of have 3 phases here with EES. We've got like a publish, an evaluate, and a push. So event providers are going to be able to publish events to a specific topic. There's a many-to-many relationship when it comes to between events and providers. So providers can push many different types of events. that are relevant to their needs. And then also too, subscribers, they can subscribe to those events and they can subscribe to all sorts of different kinds of events, right? So you can publish different kinds of events and subscribe. So it's a many-to-many relationship there. And we can add filters on your specific subscriptions so that you can go ahead and see the different relevant events to your specific enterprise. Or if you wanted to segregate things out, we can go ahead and do that with filters as well. And I'm going to talk more about that in a future slide, which will go more specifically about filters and how they work and how we use them at Jack Henry. So next, after the publish, so this is after we actually send the message to EES, it's going to go through an evaluation. And this evaluation happens really fast, very fast. So this evaluation is basically going to determine, okay, well, where does this need to go? Who subscribed to it? And what are the different endpoints that we need to deliver this message to? And it happens nearly instantaneously. And this is where filters come into hand. So we have a bunch of these different subscriptions, and we have these filters that are all configured for different subscriptions, and then it'll go ahead and narrow down, okay, well, these messages need to go here, these messages need to go here, and it goes and determines that. Finally, we have the push. So EES will then go to and push events to the proper subscriptions. So the subscriptions are going to have client endpoints that we have that are configured for actually consumption of the EES messages. So EES will go ahead and connect to these securely, and will deliver the messages to you, like I said, within seconds. So here's just a diagram more of just, we had text on the previous slide, and I like to kind of have some more visuals so people can have a visual representation as to what's going on. So you can see on the left-hand side here, we've got all of these different products. And all of these different products are going to be creating all these different types of events. And events are going to be significant things that happen, right? We have the ability to create custom events too. So EES is really the delivery mechanism to go ahead and deliver these messages to where they need to go. Now, we do already have a bunch of events out there, which I'll show where you can find those. So in this actual model here, like I said, you can see that we have products on the left-hand side. EES is going to be the middle portion there, and then we have the subscribers, which actually is the delivery of the messages. So one product will generate the event. They'll go ahead and they'll push it to the EES system. The EES system will do the evaluation of that event, and then it'll go ahead and it'll publish it securely to the specific event endpoints. And it's not going to be just one endpoint, it could be multiple endpoints, right? A specific event doesn't have to go to only one part. It can go to multiple different places depending on how the filters and the subscriptions are set up. Okay, so now delivery methods. When we talk about EES, getting the event to a specific endpoint, there's 3 different ways that we can do that. And then you can see that the first 2 are called push, right? So this is a push by interval or a push real time. So what a push by interval is basically we have a publisher service which is going to be responsible for pushing the event to a specific endpoint that you own. And this is going to happen at an interval basis. So what I mean by that is that we could have your interval be every 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes, we'll collect all the different events that have happened, and then we'll go ahead and push it to the specific endpoint that you've provided. Real time is going to be a little bit different. So real time is where, as soon as we get the message, we're going to go ahead and evaluate it and push it instantly. So there's no collection, there's no batch process of collecting all of your different events. It just sends it as soon as we get it. So you need to be able to handle that because that can be quite a few events, and sometimes that's why people opt for a batch process. But those are the 2 different kinds of things that we have. So you can see at the bottom, I kind of gave some example. You need to have a WCF client endpoint set up at your destination, and we have our publisher, which will connect to that specific endpoint and send events at the configured interval if it's interval, and then right away if it's real time. Now the third one that we have is called Direct Connect. So this is a connection that is made directly to our Kafka cluster that we have. Right? This is going to bypass the publisher service altogether, and it's going to allow you to connect directly up to our Kafka cluster and receive events that way. So you need to have a Kafka client set up at your destination, and then you can subscribe to the events that way and receive them as they come in. So it's very similar to real time, but it's just kind of bypassing a few things that we have with the publisher service itself, so you can go ahead and connect directly up to the Kafka cluster. Okay. So here's an example of some of the event structure, right? I know you can't see this, right? I know it's too small, but it is SOAP-based transmission. So we have an event that's transmitted via XML using SOAP, and it's going to contain a header and body, and the header is going to have some relevant information in terms of tracking and whatnot that we can actually use. So we have complete APM and visibility of your message in the backend. So if you guys ever have any troubleshooting with your messages, or like, hey, I didn't see my message, we can actually view that on our end. We've got all that visibility and logging all set up in the backend. So we actually use that information in the header to go ahead and track your event as to where it was, okay? And then the body is going to contain this thing called the EES event info array. And it's going to contain all the different events and event details that are relevant to your specific subscription. So you know how I talked about having like the push interval and then the push real time? So if you have the interval, you might see multiple events in this event info array. And if you have the real time, it's going to just have one. So it's really going to depend on how you have that configured and how you have it set up. Also too, more information, you can see the full example at jackhenry.dev. We have all these different examples as to how this event is structured and how you go ahead and build out an event that you can transmit. Okay, so event filters, I touched on this briefly. So it can be applied to different subscriptions to hone in the results. And this is going to give you two different things, right? You can fine tune what events you're trying to see, and you can also separate and have separation of concerns of those specific events so that they can go to different subscriptions. So maybe you're like, okay, well maybe I will only want events that are X to go here and X to go here, right? You can go ahead and separate that into two separate services so you don't have everything consumed at the same exact spot. It's really up to you. It gives you some more configuration, right? So filters also allow us, it allows us to fine tune and narrow what is received on a particular subscription, and it can also eliminate some noise. So maybe if you don't want to see specific things, we can go ahead and add a filter and be like, all right, let's go ahead and omit this because you guys don't want to see that in your specific subscription. Okay. Now here's just an example. Now this is something that you would work with our dev relations team. So this UI is not something that you have access to. It's just an example of something that our dev relations team would configure for you. So if you have a specific instance as to, okay, well, let's go ahead and add this filter to our subscription, you can work with our dev relations team, and then they're going to go ahead and set, and they'll see a screen like this where they'll go ahead and set up the subscription. So in this instance, what you can see is that we're basically adding a filter to this subscription and saying, hey, I only want to see events that are of type 660, and they're also from Ephesus. So this allows for, good customization. And we use Boolean logic here, and we can add as many different filters as you want. There's not really a limitation at this point. Okay, so posting an event. So getting an event over to EES, right? We have an enterprise event service, and in order to actually post to it, we use this thing called the EES event add, and that's basically the message type that's going to go ahead and get posted to our service. And this allows for a product to post an event, which will be broadcasted to the subscribers. So these events are the ones that are consumed by our system, that are evaluated, and they're also published to the configure endpoints in the subscription. Now, there's a lot of different properties out here, and if we went through all of them right now, you guys are going to get bored to tears. You'll probably walk out. So you can go out to jackhenry.dev, and this gives you a full list of all the different properties that are required. And these are requirements because this is specifically a contract, right? This is a contract for you to go ahead and push to the EES system in order for us to accept that event and distribute it out to all the different subscribers. Okay, so consuming an event, right? You got two options, like I said. You have the push interval or push real time. That's going to use this thing called a WCF client. And then if you're going to do direct connect, you have to have a Kafka client. So a WCF client allows for consumption of an EES event, and our system is configured to submit events to those hosted clients. Now we do have some sample code out on jackhenry.dev as to what this WCF client should look like. And also too, jackhenry.dev does give a lot of information in terms of what security things need to be in place and whatnot, and how your server has to respond to our messages, those sorts of things, in order for it to work correctly. So dev relations can definitely help you out with that as well. The code is out there for you to download and take a look at. And then a Kafka client allows you to tie directly into the Kafka instance, like I was saying. It's more of a direct approach. I don't have that up here. We do have that as well, so if you do have questions as to, how do I go ahead and get Direct Connect set up, I can definitely answer that. Okay, so now what I have is I just have a quick demo video, and this demo video is going to show me, pushing an event to EES. It's going to show the evaluation of that message, and then also to the consuming of the event. So I just wanted to just give a video and a demo of that so you can see how relatively easy process it is.
All right, so now welcome to the demo portion of the EES presentation. And what we're going to be going over today is looking at how do we go ahead and publish an event to the enterprise event service. So before I actually get into publishing the event, you can see that I have SOAP UI open here, and SOAP UI is going to be the tool that I use to go ahead and publish the event. You can see that we're using SOAP in order to get this event over to our service. And let me go ahead and open up, before I actually publish the service, I just want to give some insight as to where some of this stuff comes from. So if we go to jackhenry.dev, you'll be able to see that there's a whole lot of information out here as to how do you go about setting up an event so that you can publish it to this endpoint. And specifically what I want to look at is this API by reference. So if I go into API by reference and enterprise event services, you can see that the one that we're going to be talking about today is this thing called enterprise event add. If I open up enterprise event add, you can see the entire structure of what the event has to have in order for it to be accepted by EES. And this is going to contain a bunch of different information in terms of like your subscription ID, your event number, and all different sorts of data that needs to be in there in order to be consumed correctly and sent to the correct subscribers. So I'm not going to get into every single piece here because this stuff's, there's quite a bit in here. I just want to go ahead and show the demo of how we actually publish to the service, and then we consume it with the WCF client that we have. So let me go back to SOAP UI. And if I open that, you can see that I have this all pre-populated. So I have all the different information that is needed for this specific event. And I'm also pointing to, currently I'm pointing to a local service because I'm testing this locally, but you would point to the service that we have in your respective environment. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and press the play button here on SOAP UI, and what this is going to do is it's going to go ahead and send a request to our enterprise event service. And if I go over to the right-hand side and the XML in SOAP UI, you can see that we, in fact, did get a success response. So what that means is that the message itself was intercepted by the service, and they sent a success response, meaning that we're good to go. So what I want to do now is I'm going to hop over to this tool called Seek that we have running to basically evaluate what's going on in the back end here. And what I'm looking for is three separate parts. I'm looking for the successful ingestion of the message itself. I'm also looking for the evaluation of the message. So as soon as the message gets ingested, it's going to go ahead and get evaluated. So what that means is that the evaluation is going to determine what subscribers need this message and what subscribers are going to go ahead and get this message. Now, what finally happened here, you can see that my breakpoint was hit, which is a good thing. The third part of the of EES is that it's going to go through this publish. It's going to go through our publisher, and it's going to go ahead and send off the messages to the respective parties, to all the different WFC clients that it needs to hook up to. Okay, so you can see now that the client that we have running actually intercepted this message. So EES has three parts to it. It was the ingestion and evaluation of the message, and then it was the publishing of the message. So the message got published to our WCF client here inside our EES event add method that we have here. Now you can see that we do have a object here called request. It is of type EES event add request M type. And if we drill down into this object, you can see there's all sorts of different properties, and these properties actually correlate with the properties that we have in jackhenry.dev. So I'm not going to go through all of them right now, but you can see there's all sorts of different things like the event number. We had like, I believe the subscription ID, the event prod, which is the product, the publisher that it comes from. So all sorts of things in here. And you can go ahead and create different automations based off of this here. So we do have this sample code for the WCF client. It is out on jackhenry.dev. And so you can go ahead and pull that down. And then you can actually set this up, and then we can work with you to set up your publisher, or our publisher, to go ahead and publish to your specific WCF client. And that's it.
And that's it. So I just want to recap as to what you just saw. So like, what I had was SOAP UI. Now you don't have to use SOAP UI. SOAP UI is just a user interface tool. It's just a way to actually post requests to a WCF endpoint, right? I just used that as the demonstration. As long as you can send your request to our specific service, then it's going to be no problem, right? So you also too, I don't know if you guys caught, but maybe some of you did, maybe you didn't. There was actually one more service out there called, a search. So we do retain our messages in Kafka for 7 days. So if you can actually interface with that search as well to go ahead and search messages up to 7 days old. So if you are maybe like, hey, I'm missing a message or whatever, you can go ahead and search and see it in that specific API. Okay, so now I want to talk about, just lastly, would just be a little bit about where do you go next, right? So we've been talking about this through the entire conference so far, jackhenry.dev, right? It's the platform we're trying to build out to be the one-stop shop. So this is the same case for EES, right? So you're going to go out to there, and you'll see all the stuff that I talked about today in terms of like what the model of EES is, how it works, and just a big overview of that. Also, too, you'll get some information as to how you go ahead and get started. And this is going to give you some information as to what are your different security requirements, what are different server requirements, any kind of concerns you have for how does the message get to where it needs to go, how do you go ahead and push a message, those sorts of things. It's all going to be out here in the getting started and throughout the entire wiki, actually. So also, too, I touched on this briefly, the enterprise event ad, a whole breakdown of what that message is, what the different properties that are required to go into it, and also to descriptions as to what those are. That's all out here. And then also we have a library of all the different events that do exist. So if you want to go see, okay, well, what currently exists out for EES, we have a whole library of the different products and the different messages that are being sent currently. And also, too, if you do have a specific use case that we're not currently handling, let's go ahead and talk about it and see if it's something we can handle. More documentation. So documentation, this will give you the sample code. So that's going to be out there. You can go ahead and pull that down for the clients, along with other information in terms of like, how do I get started, like a startup form, those sorts of things. So there's plenty of information out there. More information, go ahead and visit jackhenry.dev. So hopefully that was a good overview of EES. Hopefully you got a lot out of it. It was good giving this presentation, and that's all I got for today.